So hello guys, welcome back at my workbench, and yeah, I've run into a little problem, one that I've seen pop up every now and then, and since I've run into it, I decided that I want to investigate it a little bit and of course find a solution. So let's first start with the problem. You might know these things. They are COM port headers, and on many boards you will find COM ports that have these connectors, and you just plug it into the mainboard. You have this side on the back of your computer and you have a COM port. Yeah, that's the idea, but on a lot of older boards it just doesn't work like this. And that happened to me. I plugged them in and they just didn't work. And at first I thought maybe it's because I overclocked the computer and something got wonky and whatever. But then I started a little bit investigation and found out that a lot of people have this problem. And it's not because of clock speed or something, but it's just because of the wiring. As you can see in here, that's a flat ribbon cable, and the wires are soldered to the connector, and there's just they are just soldered in order. Like pin 1 is pin 1, starts over here, and it goes pin 1 to 1, 2 goes on 2, 3 goes on 3, and that means that from these 9 pins, pin 1 of here is connected to pin 1 of here, and so on. Nice and orderly, but sadly that's not the way that my old mainboard is handling things. So, and a bit of Googling found me that there's actually 2 standards for these headers. And let me first tell you how you find out if that's your problem, because you still can have dead COM ports or anything. So what you do to find that out is you see these connector pins in here, and they are usually numbered. So if you look in there closely, you will see small numbers, and it starts up here in this corner with pin 1, and then it goes pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top, and it starts back here and goes 6, 7, 8, 9 on the bottom. Yeah. And on a properly wired COM port, if everything is right, then pin 2 and pin 3 should be RX and TX, receive data and send data. So what you can do is you just take a jumper like this, and you push it onto pin 2 and 3. It's a bit of a squeeze because it's not the right measurement, but don't push it all the way in, you will bend the pins. Just push it on a little bit so that they're connected, and then with this you connect it to your mainboard and go into any old terminal program, and if you type anything, it should come back at you at the screen, because you've wired the receive data and transmit data, so everything that the computer transmits gets back to the receiving pin, and you should basically see an echo of whatever you type. If you don't, that means likely your COM port is wired wrong. But to see if you have this exact pinout problem, you will need a piece of metal, and I just use like this is a piece of wire I cut off from I think a capacitor or something when soldering. You can use any piece of wire, and you just bend it over to kind of a U shape, and then you have to bridge pins 3 and 5, which is in the top row, the middle one and this outer one, And what I did is I just held it in place like this. There's no 5 volts or any supply voltage on here. That's just signals and ground, and it should not be dangerous if you short anything, but try not to. Try just to bridge over pin 3 and 5. Hold it in place like this, and then push a key on your keyboard, and if you get your echo when these two are bridged, then you know that you have the same problem as I do, because you have a header that's wired for the new layout, but a mainboard that uses the old layout. And I'll put the link in the description to the pinouts page, but it should be pretty straightforward to rewiring this. So I'm just going to go one by one, and if you open the link and you see the 2 pinouts, they're really quite different, and so I'll just go from pin 1 to pin 9 and rewire every single one, except for pin 1, because pin 1 is the same in both layouts. It's data carrier detect. But then we come to pin 2, and pin 2 in this old layout is the signal named DSR that I'm not even using, but I have to connect everything the right way anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm trying to find my tweezers, because there we go, because that's what I'm going to use, and yeah, then get to rewiring this connector. And so I pull out pin 2, and I know that it's going to be the DSR signal, so I look on the pinout and see it should be pin 6, which is right underneath here. So pull that out, and solder in the right one. There we go, 1 pin is done. And now I'll not leave this hanging and go to the next pin, but I'm actually going to put this where it should go. And I still know that this signal, which comes from pin 6 on the board, it should be the CTS signal. But the CTS signal is on pin 8 on our connector. And I just look in the front here. Pin 8 is this one. And it will look a bit messy when I'm done, because these cables will be all over the place and not in a nice and orderly fashion, but I don't care too much, because no one's ever gonna see this ever again, most likely. So there's our CTS wired. Then this used to be pin 8, and now I have to scroll over on the pinout a little bit. So this should be the ring indicator, and the ring indicator needs to go to pin 9, which is right next to it, right over here. Okay, and this used to be pin 9. So that should be the ground signal, which actually should go to pin 5. And pin 5 is the one up here. Okay, and this pin 5 is transmit data, and that should go to pin 3 instead. And pin 3 is the middle in the upper row, so take that out. And put pin 3 on there. Now this used to be pin 3, this is RX, and that should go onto pin 2. And now we have RX and TX completely wired. The next signal is what should be DTR. But that is going to be RTS, so desolder that as well. We're at pin 4. I'm just untangling this a little bit to make my life a bit easier. There we go. So this is pin 4, this is RTS, and RTS needs to go to pin 7 down here. That's the second one from this side, so let's get that out. Pull the other one through here. RTS wired, and this wire is DTR, and DTR needs to go to pin 4, which is the free one up here, and I think that should be almost it. And as I see, it just goes top, bottom, and given that, this should be right now. So, as it seems, this is just wiring them, every other one on the top and the bottom row. So yeah, let's give it a try. And for this one, I'm not even going to look at the pinouts, but what I'm just going to do is rewiring them from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to wire them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And yeah, I'm going to test it, of course, and if what I did here did not work and was totally useless, waste of time, then I'm not even going to upload it, because it would be useless and no help for anyone. But I'm pretty sure that this is going to work. I'm very positive about that, so yeah. And I think these connectors, when you buy them, you will only find the new version. You won't find the old ones at all, I think. Maybe on eBay for some collector thingy or whatever, but I wouldn't want to pay a premium just for getting these connectors wired this way. I'd rather just take out my soldering iron, spend a few minutes and change the layout to what I need, because that's just what I do. I solder stuff, so I'm going to solder this as well. And I'm just going to get them all in the right order. So that they're just wired up, down, up, down. And this should do the trick. And also stuff like this is good practice for soldering skills, especially what's a tricky part of soldering is actually not the soldering itself, because you're just putting heat on a spot and it melts and then it connects and that's it. But actually one of the most tricky parts when soldering stuff is holding it all into place, because you often have to hold, like right now I'm using 2 fingers to hold down the cable and then use the tweezers to move that around, and then also when I'm soldering I often use some fingers of that hand to hold something into place. So yeah, it's most of the time the soldering itself isn't that hard. That only gets complicated when you you have large boards with a lot of ground that you have to overcome and stuff like that. But yeah, it's basically your soldering iron does nothing but just supply some heat and you melt the metal and then that's it. So yeah. And it seems like I'm almost done. But yeah, as you can see, this is a rather short video, and I'm actually rewiring 2 of those and figuring out the stuff as I go along. I have not done this before, so you're seeing me do this the very first time. So yeah, this is not very complicated. Just about anyone should be able to do this. And if all goes well, then I will have 2 working serial ports on my PC. I'm in a project building a DOS PC right now. I mean, the PC itself is built, it's up and running, but I'm still doing some of the of the work. But yeah, today I have got a shipment of a few modems that I'm wanna turn into Pi modems, and I want to use my DOS PC for testing. And then when building the last Pi modem, I found that the serial ports on that machine were not working, and I didn't bother with it and just used my ThinkPad. But now I really want to get them going, so this is what I'm trying to do here. And now everything is connected, and all that I've left to do is plug it in and see if it works. And if it does, I'm going to upload this, and if it doesn't, then, well, I wasted a bit of my time. But I'm pretty positive that it's gonna work. So, see you next time. Bye bye.